Back in the 80s, if you were a kid, nothing seemed cooler than being part of a ragtag group of youngsters that fought monsters. Fast forward to today, if you're an adult, nothing seems cooler than being in the 80s and part of a gang that fights monsters. Some things never change. The Duffer Brothers, who created Stranger Things, knew that when they launched the highly popular series on Netflix about the supernatural events in the fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana. But in reality, they were just trading in on some of that decade's nostalgia with inspiration from movies like E.T., Poltergeist, Ghostbusters, and The Goonies. Yeah, if we're talking 80s movies about rambunctious kids battling scary monsters, then we can't forget to mention The Monster Squad. Directed by Fred Dekker and co-written by Shane Black, the story follows a kick-ass group of preteens fighting the classic monsters made up of Dracula, Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and Gilman. Stranger Things is not so different. There you have the Dungeons and Dragons loving kids from Hawkins who have to save their hometown from terrifying beings such as the Demogorgon, the Mind Flayer, and Vecna. Both have similar concepts and enough 80s nostalgia running through them that we cannot help but compare the two.
No actual science was used to determine the outcome of Face Off. Your results may vary. Please do not consume Face Off if you are allergic to conjecture, opinion, or general nonsense.
Round 1, savvy kids. You can't have a group of kids without, well, kids. In Stranger Things, we're introduced to Mike, Will, Lucas, and Dustin. Just some fun-loving children who want to play some D&D and survive going to school. One night, Will gets pulled into another dimension called the Upside Down, and the gang has to find a way to bring him home. They end up meeting a mysterious girl in the woods who will help them figure all this out, but we'll have more on that later. These juveniles are a total blast, and for sure help you bring back some fond memories of hanging out with your best friends.
I will try not to sing out of key.
Way back in the actual 80s, we got to know the Monster Squad as they tried to dodge detention after getting in trouble for their monster club at school. All the kids want to do is have some fun watching some horror movies, but they get busted by the principal. Boo. The club consists of Sean, Patrick, Sean's sister Phoebe, and Fat Kid.
Hi, I'm Derek, and I'm in the street where Fat Kid is blocking traffic. Fat Kid, can't you stop eating?
My name is Horace.
Who are obsessed with monsters. So obviously they can't believe it when the Universal Classic monsters show up in their town. And we're not talking about Halloween Horror Nights, we mean the real deal. Since no one else will believe them, it's up to the youngsters to stop the evil creatures from taking over the world. Being a horror movie lover myself, I think I would have a better time hanging with this crew. Of course, I'd have to overlook some more questionable language that has not dated well at all. But for now, the winner is verdict, Monster Squad.
Come on, don't be chicken shit.
Round 2, Monsters. When we're introduced to Hawkins, Indiana, we learn that there is a dark, parallel world known only as the Upside Down that mirrors the sleepy town as a dark shadow. In this world lives dangerous creatures like the Demogorgon, which is a humanoid predator with a head made up entirely of teeth. In later seasons, we'll meet the evil, spider-like Mind Flayer and then the horrifying Vecna, who was revealed to be behind everything. There's even less powerful predators like Demodogs and Demobats, but to the average person, those ain't nothing to mess with. Each demon was able to elicit an unrelenting terror that still haunts some of the characters. Will can't get over his time in the Upside Down and his connection to the Mind Flayer. Joyce had to witness Bob get eaten by a Demodog, and with Demogorgons chasing people around town and even within prisons in Russia, it's easy to see why they should be feared. In the Monster Squad, we're treated to the classic monsters from the heyday of Universal Pictures, as well as the evil beings that started life in classic literature. Dracula is the leader of a group trying to find a magical amulet so that he can rule the world, naturally. Frankenstein's monster is his muscle, the Wolfman is his ferocity, the Mummy is his stability, and Gilman is his cunning. He's searching this new town for this magical amulet and will stop at nothing to retrieve it. While the monsters in Hawkins aren't something that I'd want to run into on a dark night, there is still something so dangerous about Dracula.
Give me the amulet, you bitch!
And his menacing crew trying to take over the world that we have to give it to. Verdict, The Monster Squad.
Come on, don't be chicken shit.
Round 3, Superhero Member. Your core group of kids is great and all, but in order to defeat certain evil, you're gonna need a secret weapon. Luckily for the kids in Hawkins, they stumble upon their new friend just after she escaped from a secret underground government lab. 11 has been studied and pushed to the ultimate level of human evolution. Her powers allow her to enter other mindscapes via telepathy and use telekinesis to throw objects by merely thinking it. She may have even found a way to bring people back from the dead. That's no small feat. On top of this, she seems to be able to close gateways between the real world and the Upside Down. That is mighty useful. Regarding the Monster Squad, all the boys tend to chicken out when it comes time to confront the monsters on the scene, but one member that is a complete badass is Phoebe. She instantly befriends Frankenstein's monster without a second thought. Frank is the muscle that the team needs in order to stop Dracula. He proves instrumental in preventing his former leader from taking over the world and sending them all to limbo forever. Sadly, he has to take the journey himself. Frank is cool and all, but I know if I needed someone by my side to help stop the world from being overtaken by monsters, I would for sure want a telekinetic superhuman. Verdict: Stranger Things.
Why is this 4-year-old speaking to me?
Round 4, Older Friend. For both teams, we see them try to recruit a more mature member to their cause. While at first he seems like he'll be a bully to the boys, throughout the years, Steve the Hare Harrington has proven himself to be up to the task of kicking some upside-down ass. He tends to feel like he has to babysit this group, but in reality, we know he loves these guys and especially has a close bond with Dustin. He somehow went from being a character that everyone kind of wanted to punch in the first season to being so popular that the mere thought that he might be killed off in the latest season made fans threaten to cancel their Netflix subscriptions. The almighty dollar talks. Rudy, on the other hand, doesn't really seem that interested in joining the Monster Squad until he realizes their treehouse gives him a great view of a high school girl's bedroom. Once he learns that monsters are in fact real, he doesn't hesitate to step up.
Where you going, Rudy?
I'm in the goddamn club, aren't I?
He hits shop class immediately and makes a whole bunch of stakes. When push comes to shove, he grabs his trusty bow and arrow and takes out Dracula's brides before they can cause any problems. Everyone could use a friend, like Rudy. Sadly, only one cool dude per group, so this round goes to the breakout star of Verdict: Stranger Things.
Why is this 4-year-old speaking to me?
Round 5, Hangout Spot. If you're a teenager, then you know you have to find a place of your own to get away from things, strange or not.
You got any cigarettes? Regular or menthol?
For Mike and his friends, it's as close as his basement, and the amount of D&D games that have been played there are probably countless. Plenty of couches and chairs for everyone to lounge while they talk about what monsters their characters are attacking, and a tool bench close by to create anything they need. It would also seem that no one goes down there all that much, considering he had another child hidden down there for days, and no one even noticed. It's only a flight of stairs away from the fridge for all your snacking needs, and a bathroom is never far away. I mean, if you're in an actual club, like the Monster Squad, then of course your hangout is a treehouse decorated with all sorts of monster images. Duh. Loads of monster magazines and a pair of binoculars pointed at a high school girl's bedroom, just because. Ah, the 80s.
He's a peeping Tom.
The treehouse seems huge and really sturdy since Frank is able to sit in it comfortably and there's no indication that the whole thing is gonna fall apart into a pile of boards. Sadly, we do suffer as Dracula, who is a regular user of dynamite apparently, blows the treehouse to smithereens. But hey, at least it went out with a bang. Verdict: Monster Squad.
Come on, don't be chicken shit.
Round 6. Adults. Even though sometimes it's a kid's dream to be totally unsupervised without any adults around, we saw in Home Alone how lonely that can be. In Stranger Things, there are some adults who lend the children a helping hand. The local Sheriff Hopper gets in on the action firsthand. He even steps up and takes Eleven in as an adopted daughter. It almost seemed like he sacrificed himself for the group, but thankfully it turns out he was just thrown into a Russian gulag. Will's mother, Joyce Byers, experiences everything personally as her baby boy Will gets sucked into the Upside Down. She finds a clever way to communicate with him using Christmas lights while everyone else thinks she's lost her freaking mind. Never question a mother's love. In Monster Squad, it seems like most of the adults just get in the way. Sean's dad is a cop, but not a cool one like Hopper. He wears a suit to work and doesn't seem like he believes anything until he finally has a run-in with the Wolfman.
He's gonna kill your son!
He tries to get involved, but doesn't seem to help much. Their biggest ally is the one they call
Scary German guy.
who is actually just a nice man and a concentration camp survivor. He's able to translate the German diary of Van Helsing and help them get rid of Dracula for good. We also learned that these are not the first monsters he's dealt with in his life. Ooh, Scary German Guy prequel, anyone?
Yes.
Easily the cooler adults out of this conflict have got to be Verdict, Stranger Things.
Why is this 4-year-old speaking to me?
Round 7, action. Without question, the Duffer Brothers know how to set up exciting action pieces throughout the run of Stranger Things so far. The monsters they've created are ferocious, and with battles against the likes of the Mind Flayer at the end of Season 3, you can see why this show is #1 on Netflix every time a new season hits.
We're in the money.
For Season 4, there is so much action that it has to span 2 continents in 3 different main locations. We got Eleven and Max fighting Vecna in the Mindscape, Eddie and Dustin fighting off the swarm of bat creatures in the Upside Down, and Hopper fighting a Demogorgon in a Russian prison, all at the same time. The Monster Squad did see the kids follow the usual tropes in order to destroy the famous monsters. They melted down some silver to make bullets that Sean's dad finally uses to kill the Wolfman. Rudy stakes Dracula's brides, and Fat Kid, Horace, unloads a shotgun into the chest of the Gillman. Even the Mummy gets defeated by wrapping part of his bandages around an arrow and shooting it into a tree as they drive away. But the film was shot in the 80s with a limited budget, so the action doesn't get your heart racing as much in this one. Therefore, this round goes to Verdict, Stranger Things.
Why is this 4-year-old speaking to me?
It's fair to say that the final verdict only turns out this way because Stranger Things has a much bigger canvas to tell their story on, but a win is still a win. The Monster Squad is a classic 80s favorite, but Stranger Things has become such a modern juggernaut that it's hard to fight against. No need to worry, because at least Monster Squad taught us the most valuable lesson of all.
Wolfman's got nards. Come on, come on!
Winner, Stranger Things. But don't let us have the final word. Tell us in the comments which is your pick, Stranger Things or the Monster Squad. And if you dig our videos, please make sure to subscribe and share with all your movie-loving buddies. As always, thanks for watching.